Everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today's video is something a little bit different for my channel, but it's been really highly requested, and it is a hair and a makeup tutorial. I get comments about both of these things on pretty much every video that I post, and I thought the best way to address them would be in the form of a tutorial. Now, just to be clear, I'm not a professional, and there are a lot of people out there that can execute this style better than I can and can probably do it faster and in a more historically accurate manner. But even though that content is out there, I still get a lot of questions about how I do my hair, so I'm just going to take you through it today. This also seemed like a good time of the year to do it. I know that a lot of people attend events and parties in December, or just dress a little bit fancier in general. Also, just to be clear, this is one of several different ways that I style my hair. Sometimes I use smaller curlers to get more volume and more of a historical look. Sometimes I brush it out differently and pin it up to create more of an updo. Other times I use rag curls instead of foam curlers, which create a softer curl. But more often than not, I use 1 inch and 3/4 inch foam rollers and I sleep with them in to create this level of curl and volume. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today, and I hope you enjoy seeing it come together and that you learned something. So now I'm going to switch over to a clip of me last night when I was feeling very sick and very tired. So I look quite rough and I apologize for that, but I'm not going to refilm it, so we're just gonna have to deal with it together as well. Hello everyone, so this is what I'm working with. For this, I'm primarily using 3/4 inch and 1 inch curlers. These are the two sizes I would recommend for this style of curl. Anything smaller than this and you're mostly just going to get frizz and volume as opposed to defined curls. As far as products go, I'm going to be using the Garnier Fructis Curl Shape Gel. I like to spray about 1 pump on this per section of hair, and then I brush it through with my Denman pin brush as well as a little bit of water. You want to do this on dry hair. If you start out with wet hair, the hair might not dry inside of the curler and you'll end up with some limp, damp waves as opposed to luscious, voluminous curls. I'm also going to be using a little bit of this Aussie headstong. I don't always use this just because it can make my hair look a little bit crispy, but I'm working with second day hair, so I've got a little bit of grease up here and it's going to be more difficult to achieve the height that I would like, and this is going to help with that. Then the other things I'm going to be using is a little bowl of water just to dampen the ends to make them go around the curlers a little bit easier. And I'm also going to be using a comb. I like using a comb with a pin back. It just makes it a little bit easier to section. Okay, so I'm going to start out by parting my hair the way that I like, which is pretty far to the left side of my body. And once that looks good, I'm just going to brush through all of my hair. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that mousse and just rub that between my palms and then scrunch it into the top section of my hair. And then I'm going to brush through my hair again. Just keep in mind that if you cannot brush through your hair easily before the curlers go in, you're going to have a really bad time trying to brush out the curls and any tangles after the curlers come out. So you want your hair to be completely tangle free before you start on the rolling process. And it's okay that I just brushed out most of the volume that the mousse gave me. I put the mousse in more to create a base that will make it easier to tease after the curlers come out, rather than a base to give it more volume at this moment. So with that done, I can start curling. So I like to start on this side since the bangs can be a little bit finicky. And I usually section it just above my ear, and then I'm going to section that in half. I'm going to take my curl shaping gel and just spritz a bit on the end, then use my fingers to bring that through, and then I'm going to use my other hand to bring a bit of water from the dish up through it. And then I'm just going to wrap the end around the curler first, and then roll it inward towards my face until I get to the root. And then I'm going to repeat that for the next strand. And you want to make sure that all of the rollers are wrapping inward towards your face. They're all going in different directions, so they're not going to brush out into that really smooth curl that you want, because they'll sort of be fighting against each other. And I'm just going to work my way from the top downward. This looks like an okay size section, so I'm going to spritz it. And I use the gel and the water mostly to just smooth the hair into a defined lump, so it's easier to roll without hairs escaping. Actually, for this one, since it's a little bit lower down, I'm going to use the 3/4 inch curler. Now for the back, you want the curlers evenly dispersed down it, but I cannot do that much fancy work behind my head. I curl them slightly to the side, and I don't think it makes that big of a difference in the end result. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the bangs on this side before proceeding with the back. So I comb the hair straight up, and then I pick the section that I want, and then I'm going to spray this with the gel, and then brush it upward again. And then just repeat the process. And you want it to go downward so it's got sort of the lift at the root that you're going to want later on. I'm not really sure how to explain it. And that looks good to me. So now I'm just going to repeat this process with the hair next to it. Also, I don't spray every single section, it just sort of depends on how I'm feeling. And you want to be careful that you don't over apply this, because then the hair is either going to be too wet or too sticky and it just doesn't really end up holding the curl. So it is sort of a delicate balance, but you do get the hang of it pretty quickly. I'm used to having a much larger mirror. I'm just using this tiny one and it feels so weird. And as you can see, for these sections that are farther back, I just sort of pull the hair to the side and do it, as opposed to try and get it perfectly lined with the back of my head. Alright, so this is the end result. I think everything is curled. I'm going to take another peek in my big mirror and make sure everything is where I want it to be, since it's sort of hard to tell here. I will also give you a beautiful spin so you can see it from every angle. So if you do this in the morning, you'll want to leave it in pretty much all day, but if you do it at night, like I'm doing this, then you can just sleep on it, and by the time you wake up, or after 8 hours or so, you should be able to take them out and have beautiful curls. I'm going to get some rest, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new morning. So the last clip was filmed around 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and it is currently 7:49 in the morning. So these have been in for plenty long enough and I could easily take them out, but I like leaving these in for as long as possible since my hair is very determined to be straight. And I find the longer the curlers are in for, the more inclined my hair is to stay curled. So I'm going to leave it up like this while I do makeup, which is the second part of this video. I've got this stuff here and this stuff here, and some dirty brushes, so we should be all set and ready to go. I started off just by dampening my Real Technique sponge. I prefer applying makeup with a sponge just because my skin is so dry. And while I wait for that, I'm going to put on the Clinique Moisture Surge moisturizer. I usually use the Lotion Plus, but my skin is so dry that before applying makeup I like something a little bit heavier. And then on my lips I'm going to put some of this Vaseline lip balm. I usually use Carmex, but it's downstairs. So while I still have some of the moisturizer sitting on my skin, I'm going to start applying foundation. And on a daily basis, I usually use the Maybelline Fit Me foundation stick, and then I will just put a little bit of the Krylon White Ultra Foundation on the high points of my face and blend it all together. The Fit Me foundation on its own is a little bit dark for me, so I find that this really helps to brighten it and just make my skin look really nice. But when I'm filming or taking costume photos, I like slightly fuller coverage, so I use a mixture of Krylon concealer and foundation products. The first one I have is just the White Ultra Foundation. The next one I have is Super Color in 406, which is like a very pale yellowy tone. And then I have 1W, which is also a super color. And for these I just purchased the refills, which are around $5. And then I've depotted them into ColourPop eyeshadow containers. So I have my camera to manually focus, so it's not going to show up, but this is the white and this is 406. And then this is 406 and this is 1W, so you can see the tone difference. I'm going to start with a mixture of 406 and 1W, and I'm just going to put that underneath my eyes as well as around my nose and leave the places where I want a lot of coverage. I've tried pretty much every foundation at Sephora in the drugstore that come in really light tones, and they're all too dark for me, or they oxidize a very strange orangey color on me. I find that my skin is just really prone to oxidization, which is why I like using heavier cream products or stick products, because I don't tend to have the oxidization problems with those. Then I'm going to take a couple dots of the white and put that on all the high points of my face. And this is the finished look. Obviously, I'm just kidding. I know that this looks really dramatic, but there actually isn't that much applied, and once I blend it in, it will look fine. And obviously, all of this is blended in with the Real Technique sponge. I use a mixture of a dabbing and a pulling motion to get it spread around my skin. And this is what it looks like. I know I look very fair now, but I promise this is my actual skin tone. As you can see, matches my hands and my neck. I just have a lot of natural redness on my face, so once I remove that, I end up looking kind of like a ghost. But if I use a darker foundation, it doesn't end up matching my neck, and that looks very strange. So this is the best balance that I have found. Now I'm going to apply some powder, and this is a translucent setting powder from NYC. It's really cheap and I think it's really good. I've been using this for the entire time I've been putting on makeup. I think I've gone through like 8 of these. So I'm going to use my sponge to apply that underneath my eyes and on my forehead where I want to really thoroughly set the product. And then for the rest of my face, I'm going to use a buffing brush. Okay, so now it's time for contouring, and for this I'm going to use a mixture of the NYX shadow in the color Haywire and the NYX blush in the color Taupe. And I have a Jessup large angles contouring brush that I'm going to use for this. I tend to start here and sort of define my cheekbones and then go underneath the jaw and put a little bit on my temples. As you can probably tell, my head is just like a circle. There isn't a lot to it. So especially when I'm filming or taking photos, I like to add a little bit dimension to it, since what little there is there easily gets lost in photos and film. And then on top of that, I'm going to put the blush Cabana Boy, which is by The Balm. I put this on top of the contour, and then I'm going to blend it out with a bit of Down Boy, so you'll get sort of a gradient or ombre effect on my cheek. I tend to match my blush to my lipsticks. So today I know I'm going to be wearing kind of a raspberry color of lipstick, so I'm using more pink tone blushes. But if I'm wearing a red, then I really like using Mellow Wine by Wet n Wild or Frat Boy by The Balm. Those are much peachier reddish tones, and I find that they're more flattering with red lip colors. Then I'm going to use a highlighter, and today I'm using ColourPop's Stole the Show. This is a cream, so I'm just going to apply it to the high points of my face with my finger. I think that does it for the face makeup, but now it is time for eyebrows. So I'm going to start by brushing them upward with a spoolie, and then I'm just going to fill them in with the Wet n Wild brow pencil in brown. And I mostly fill in just the front to give them a little bit more shape. Then I'm going to take a little angle brush and blend that in. Then using that same brush, I'm going to apply this color through my brows, and that color is called Matte Evans, and it's from this palette by The Balm. So for eyeshadow, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to start out with this beigey color, which has a little bit of shimmer to it. And this is a Coastal Scents Hot Pot in the color Vanilla Sky. And I'm just going to put this all over the lid. Now I'm going to take a matte brown shade. I'm going to go with this one, but honestly any matte brown shade will do. And I'm going to apply this to the outer corner and the crease. And I keep the lines that I applied as pretty sharp at first. And then I'm just going to take a bigger fluffy brush and blend that out. Do you guys hear all of those lawnmowers? I thought filming this really early I wouldn't get any of that happening, but apparently they wake up earlier than I do. And now because that got a little bit out of hand, I'm just going to apply a lighter color underneath my eyebrow to serve as a highlight. And then I think I'm going to apply a slightly darker brown. This is the color Friendly from one of the Balm palettes. And then I'm going to blend that in as well. And I'm applying this in such a way that I get a very specific sort of drawn out eye shape. So it isn't necessarily the most blended look in the world, but I do like the shape that it gives me. So now I'm going to apply some eyeliner. I was using gel eyeliner for a long time and I really like that. But today I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild felt tip eyeliner. I'm also not going to be doing a wing today. Even though this is sort of a vintage inspired look, I just don't think it's particularly flattering on me. And though sometimes I feel like doing it, I feel like this looks just as nice. And when I draw my eyeshadow out a little bit, it sort of gives me that length to my eye without having to add the wing. So that ended up being a slightly thicker line than I had intended, but that's life, isn't it? Now I'm going to go ahead and apply a black eyeliner to my upper waterline, and this is by Physicians Formula. And this just helps fill in the gaps in the liquid liner. And I'm going to clean off any that gets onto my waterline. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and curl my eyelashes. Then I'm going to apply a coat of the Butterfly Mascara, which I think is by L'Oreal. And I like this because it has a very, like, almost comb-shaped brush, so it's much more difficult for me to get it all over my face. And then to make my lashes a little bit more dramatic, I'm going to go over top of that with the Clinique High Impact Mascara. This is so old, I really need to get a new one, it's kind of gross. So I'm going to apply lipstick, and then I think that's going to be it for the look. Today I actually want to wear the Liquid Catsuit from Wet n Wild in the color Berry Recognize. This is just a beautiful berry shade. But some other colors I really like is the ColourPop Liquid Lipstick in Mama. This is like a dark reddish orange, and it's really pretty. And then a bright reddish orange I love is Flame of the Game, and this is also a Liquid Catsuit by Wet n Wild. I haven't actually been that into bright red tones on me these days. I did wear one the other day that was Creeper by ColourPop, and I thought it looked nice since I had red in my outfit. But more often than not, I find it looks too harsh with my blondish brownish hair color, so I've been shying away from it, but I feel like that is expected in a 1950s or 40s style look. So I'm going to put on Elaire by ColourPop. So before applying this, I'm going to blot off my chapstick. Wow, look at all that blended foundation I missed. Awesome. So I'm going to look in my big mirror and probably blend my foundation a little bit more because I can see it kind of clumping here and there are a few spots that I missed. But after a touch-up, I'm going to come back and do my hair. Now it is time to focus once again on hair. My 7-row Denman brush is going to make another appearance in this. I think pin brushes are the best thing to use to brush out your hair, and I would highly suggest you buy one if you're interested in doing this vintagey style. They're not very expensive and they make such a difference in the end result. I think this was like $12 at Sally's and I would highly recommend it. You also want a pick, preferably one that is very thin and made out of metal, and you can use this to position the curls and hold them in place while you're hairspraying it, and it won't get caught or distort the shape of the curl when you remove it the way that a normal comb would. But you might also want a fine tooth comb just to separate the hair, do some teasing. And another optional but handy thing to have is a teasing brush. I like to use this for my bangs and also to add a little bit of volume over here, and it does a much better job of teasing and providing volume than a comb. And the final thing you will need is a hairspray. I'm using Got to Be Glued. You might also want a lightweight gel to smooth down the top depending on how frizz prone your hair is, but this has always been plenty for me. And some bobby pins might come in handy depending on how well behaved your hair is. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the curlers, and it's definitely easiest to start at the bottom and work your way up. This is what it looks like with all the rollers out. As you can see, I have some nice lift at the roots. That is partially from the mousse and also just from how I had it wrapped around the curlers. Everything else looks pretty tightly curled, but there are a few ones that didn't curl as densely, like this one and this one. So that's where the bobby pins are going to come in handy in case you want to like tuck those under and hide them a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and brush through my hair with the pin brush. And just to be clear, this style is achieved completely through brushing and teasing. The hairspray and any other products you use should only come into play after the style looks the way you want it to look for the foreseeable future. If you add gel or water or any sort of styling product prior to that, it's going to ruin the shape of the curl and it won't clump together in that beautiful hair waterfall effect that we're going for. So I've probably been brushing my hair for about 3 minutes continuously now, and as you can see, it still looks super poofy and weird. So I'm just going to keep brushing. That is the key to this. Just keep brushing. Eventually, it will get there. So once the curls are at the level of density that you want, you can start shaping them. And you're going to do this by brushing them in a specific direction. So for this bunch over here, I'm going to bring my brush through it underneath and then pull it towards me. So it creates like a little loop almost. And then I'm going to use my hands to twist them a little bit until I like how they frame my face. And then I'm going to repeat the process on this side. Alright, so once everything looks a little bit sleeker, I'm going to work on the bangs, which are definitely the most difficult part. As you can see, my hair just gets really flat and greasy and oily around this section. So I'm going to pick up that section and then just go to town with the teasing brush. There! It's perfect! So now I'm just going to use a comb and the metal pick to sort of smooth that out. And now that I have the height I want there, I'm going to kind of pin this in place until I think it looks most flattering. Then I'm going to use my fingers to kind of re-entwine the ends so it looks like one smooth piece of hair. I'm pretty happy with how this looks, so now it is time for the hairspray to come in. I'm going to start by spraying it onto my hands and then using that to flatten and smooth out the top and sides. Then I'm going to spray some more on my hands and just kind of loosely sculpt the curls. If you hairspray everything before doing this, you're basically just locking in place any frizz or loose ends that have kind of popped up. And then once everything looks smooth and you're happy with it, you can give it a good spray. So I think that is everything. I will give you a little spin. That's the finished look, and it is currently 5 hours later. My camera battery died as I was filming the outro, then I filmed another one, but it was blurry, and then I filmed a different video, and my camera battery died again. Then as I was reviewing the footage, I realized the intro and the outro that I filmed for this video were really out of focus, so I'm hoping third time's the charm here. It has fallen quite a lot. It looked a lot perkier earlier in the day, and the curls are sort of out of sorts now, but I still like how it looks, and I think it's a testament to how well this hairstyle lasts. Unlike rag curls or heat set curls, which fall off very, very quickly on me. This will last all day, pretty much regardless of the humidity and other conditions. All I've done off camera is put a bobby pin here since this portion has started to fall a little bit. And then I also brushed the top a little bit just to get rid of flyaways. So I think that covers everything. Make sure to check out the description box since I will try and list everything that I used down there. And if there was something that I forgot to address in this video, then feel free to ask your questions down below and I will try and get back to you. And also let me know if you'd be interested in seeing more videos like this, some of the more historical hairstyles, since I know I've gotten questions on Instagram about those as well. I think that covers everything. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back with a sewing video very soon and I will talk to you then.